Hello everyone. Welcome back to Code with Pramod Kumar. Today let's explore React Hook Form, a library that will revolutionize the way we deal with forms in our React applications. Forms are a fundamental part of web development, but they can often be a source of frustration and complexity. React Hook Form comes to the rescue with a more straightforward and efficient way to handle forms in React. It's not just for beginners, but even experienced developers will find value in this. In this video, let's deep dive into practical examples by which we can see how it simplifies form management, handles validations, and makes our code cleaner and more maintainable. By the end of this video, you will be well equipped to harness the power of React Hook Form and streamline your form handling processes. Please like, subscribe, and click on notification bell so that you don't miss my videos. Let's get started. I have my React application started here. The browser is showing a user registration form with some fields, and the left side I have the code in my VS Code editor. The first step of React Hook Form is to register these elements with React Hook Form. So to do that, I'll have to have the React Hook Form installed here. So let me do that. And then I'll try to import it here. So I've imported here. So useForm is a hook given from the React Hook Form, using which we can do many operations on the form data. So let me just try to get some functions out of it. So register is one of the functions that can be obtained from useForm, and then HandleSubmit. So useForm. So useForm function can take some parameters like default values. If at all, if your form has to be pre-filled with some values, we can pass some default values into useForm. That we'll see in some minutes. Okay, so on the form, I'll just add on submit call, which will be calling the handle submit of the React Hook Form, which takes a callback method called any method that you implement on your system. So I'll just say on submit, which I'll implement here. So on submit, the callback function that handle submit takes is called with a parameter called data, or any parameter that you like to call it, and that data will be the form data. Sorry. So for this data to work, the first thing I'll have to do is to register these components that I have as my input elements. So how to register? So I have taken this register function from useForm. I'll make use of it here. So I'll have to give a name for each field that I want to register. So it gets registered with this name. I'll do the same thing for all the fields here. Gender are two input fields, but they are belonging to the same value. So I'll have to register with the same name called gender. Same thing goes to checkbox as well. So I'll just say this, and with the same name, I'll do the registration for all the three checkboxes. So now that I have this registration done, and I've also called this handle submit on my form submit, and the submit button is of type submit. So when I click this submit, then the form gets submitted, and hence we can get to see some data on this. Let's see that on the screen now. I'm just expanding this and then opening the development tools here. I'll just fill up some value. I'm just inputting some random values. Okay, yeah, you can see on my dev tools here, all the values that I entered on the form are appearing here with the names that I used in registration. So you can see confirm password, email, gender. These are the names that I gave in my registration here. So that's about the registration. Next point to see is the validations. In React hook form, there are 7 different types of validations that can be applied and you can validate your screen. So let's go, or let's see one by one in this. So when you see this form, I can think of a minimum of 5 to 6 validations that can be applied. So for example, username should not be empty, or it should be more than 8 characters. Password and confirm password should be same. Age should be above 21 years. Phone should be more than 8 letters or 8 digits. Email ID should have that email syntax. So these are some of the validations that can be applied here. So how to do that? Let's see that with examples here. So useForm also provides an object called form state, which internally contains many states of the form, and one of them is errors. So what we can do is the register function that we have used to register the input and all the fields here can take a parameter, the second parameter called options. So here I can specify my rules or my mandatory or any of these validation related expressions here. So for the first one, let me say I want it to be a required field. So that will make it a mandatory field. So once this fails, assume if this required parameter that I'm giving as a second option to the register, if it is not filled, then an entry will be put into this variable's errors with the same name, username. So I can check for that, and if it is present, I can actually show an error message that this field is mandatory. And one more thing we need to note is whenever it is failing with any errors, or if it is unable to validate the form, then this on submit will not proceed. Okay, let's see that here now. So I'm not filling anything in the username, so I'll just fill other fields. Let's see how it works now. Yeah, you can see that this field is mandatory. Let me show what exactly the error object contains, or errors.username contain. As the form is not validated, the call of this won't happen. So that's why let me create one more dummy button here called validate, where I'm just printing the errors. So I'll try to show you in my inspect element how it looks. Let me bring it down better. So if I say validate, I get this username, and username has a type of required. Using this, I can actually differentiate between my error messages. Like say, for example, I had another error message for the same field with respect to length. I can actually say username dot type equal to required, show this message, and say if it is, let me add another parameter or another variable here, or another validation here called min length should be equal to 8, and let me use that also here. This field, or let me change this to min length should be 8. So I can use this type to differentiate between my error messages. So here now this field is mandatory, that's the error messages. Let me give some value which is lesser than 8, and you see that minimum length should be 8. So this is required and minimum length. Similar to minimum length, there is maximum length that can be used, and let me show you another one called min and max, which will be applied on the numbers. So min length and max length are with respect to the numbers, or sorry, the text length of the text, wherein minimum and maximum are the values of the numbers. Say for example, I'll give that on the age. So I'll say that min age should be 18 and max age can be 21. So I'll do the same thing that I did here. and let me just print that out here. So here I'll take this and here, and instead of this I'll say min and max. Min age is 18, max age is 21. Let's see what will happen now. So I'll just reload the page here. So I'll give some value which is greater than 8. So but I'll give some very less values here and see whether it works. Yeah, so I have given a number which is lesser than 18, so you can see this, and max age should be just 21 is what I've given. So if I give something of 22, you can see max age is 21. So you can handle minimum and maximum values, and I have shown about required and min length also. So max length also works in the same way. There are two more validations that can be given. The next one is pattern. So pattern is nothing but a regex that can be used for your validation. So what better than using it on email ID? I have actually copied the pattern here, which is needed for an email ID. And let me add an error message here. Dot email ID, and I'll just say email ID format is wrong. Let's see whether it works here. I am just giving some dummy values. So I'll just leave it with some not so correct email ID and see. You can see that email ID format is wrong. So I'm able to get the pattern also working, and the last one to be looked at is validate. So validate is nothing but a function. You can pass in a function and then validate with that function. So I can use that on this confirm password. I'll just explain you how I'm using it. So it is a function that is part of this options, which has like this and has a value called, it takes in a parameter called value, and this value you can now validate. And at the end, you should return whether true or false for this validation to complete. If it is true, then it is validated. If it is false, that means this has a problem, and hence the screen is not validated. So here what I'll do is I'll try to check whether this password value is same as this password value. How can I do that? So these parameters that are coming out of useForm, there is another thing that we can get from useForm, that is called get values. So using this one, I'll try to get the previous field called password and check whether it is equal to this value or not. So I have to do nothing, just call this by passing this parameter and check whether it is equal to the current value or not. So I'll just call it like this and say the same thing. If errors dot confirm password, then print a span saying password does not match. Let's see whether it works now. So I'll just reload this page and give some random values. So here let me show, I'll just put some 1 2 3 4 here, but here I'll put 5 4 3 2, and then other values here, and this also matches whatever is the format. And if I click on submit, okay, so this is actually not 8 letters. So here you can see now password doesn't match. So what happened here is a validate method got called, on this field and it checked for the top field password whether that password's value is equal to the current value, and it is not, so it is failing. So now let me give the same values. Now I gave 1111 on the top and I'll give the same value here, and if I submit, that is actually cleared, wherein the problem is in the age. Now let me give the correct age and you can see now the form is validated and you can get all the values here. These are the validations that can be applied on our form data. It's very simple. As you see, you just have to pass in the parameters, what kind of validations that you need as the second parameter to your register, and then with the help of errors you can get them displayed on the screen, or whatever you want to do you can handle in that way. There are other parameters, as I said, inside form state, like touched, is dirty, etc., which you can use for your form validations if at all if you want to use them. Till now, whatever the fields that we registered or that we created some validations on are all basic HTML fields. If at all, if we have some other fields, some third-party fields that are also user inputable, or some wrappers written on these HTML fields, then this React hook form register doesn't work on them. For example, if you are using Material UI or React Bootstrap, or even any of the external libraries like React Select, then this register will not directly work on it. So for example, I have just created this select box from React Select, and I have got it from the same examples of the React Select screen. And if I try to do a register on this, it will start to throw an error that this is not allowed. Say, like, you can see here there is an error on this select. So what should we do in this kind of situation? So actually, React hook form provides two more properties. One is called control, which we can get it from useForm, and there is an exported component called controller, using which we can solve these problems. So what we can do here is we'll have to wrap this select object inside of uh, this controller. So controller takes three main properties. So name, what is the name that you want this to be registered in React hook form, and then the next one is render. So this renderer actually will be used to render our object or our field here. So in this case the select is rendered through this, and okay, so I'll close it here. So this is how you can do it. And one more thing that I need here is the control. So the control on the controller should be same as the control that is given from the use form. So I'll just paste it here. Now when you select anything, that goes and sits in these colors, but before that there is one more thing. This render actually will have this property called field, which has to be set to this rendered element. Now when I come to my screen and say I select some two values here and some values on the other fields, and if I submit, I'll get this field with the colors having two values in it. So that is how you can actually control the externally available fields in our React form. Now like in a regular field here, for handling the validations we have something called as rules, which actually has the same 7 items here, and it has even more. So let's first check for our 7 validation items. So if I mark it as true and say I have this errors dot of colors validation, and then if I do remove this two fields and click on submit, I get that error message, and if I select it, that error message goes. So this way we can actually add the validations for these kind of externally or third party input fields. After this, the one thing that we need to know is what if we have to have this form pre-filled with some external values. So that we can actually take care with the help of default values, which will be a part of this use form. So use form can have an object which we can set, which we can use to set our default values, but just that we need to set all the fields that are used within us. From colors till the last field, every field should be part of this, irrespective of whether you set it or not set it, as it acts as an interface data. Yeah, and color options doesn't have an empty value, so I'll have to provide a value here as my default. So that way, now when I reload this page, I'll get all the values that I have it in my default values set here. So this is how you can actually pre-fill the form, and then you can actually change this. For that matter, sorry, and then you can get them again. So if you see here, the changed values are all available here. Okay, that's about handling the default values. UseForm provides many more properties other than the register, handle, submit, get values, control. I've just listed on every property that comes out of UseForm. I'll try to use them now. So first, let me see what is reset doing. So as the name suggests, whatever you have filled on the screen, if you want to reset completely, you can use reset. So I'll just put that reset on my cancel button just for checking purpose. So it is just if you call a reset, it will be all the properties will be reset. Say for example, I have these properties, these values field, and then when I say cancel, all the properties are gone. If at all, if you want any one property to be reset, then you can use it like this. So here only it will reset username. So for example, if I have username and say password and all these things, and then if I say cancel, only the username will get reset. Other than these two, there are some other properties, like I'll show you. The next, we can check the set value. So in the earlier example that I showed, we can set the default values to all the fields in the beginning. Set value is something similar where you can set to particular field. Like say for example, let me create one use effect here. And I can actually set up some values to the form fields here. So set value of, it takes two parameters. One is the name of the field, and the value. So when I reload it, you can see that the name is set for username. Similar to set value, there is also set error. What happens here is an error can be set to any of these fields. See, this can come in handy when you're doing some external validations or some different kinds of validations, which is not straightforward. You can actually set the error from different function calls or different handlers. So I'll just say the type is required, because actually I have handled for username required and min-len. So I'll just say required here. So whenever it runs, the error of required gets set, and then the error message of required is shown. If I want, I can change this to min length, and you see that min length error. Even though it is passing, yeah, I am explicitly setting the error here. Other than that, there is clear errors. If at all, if you want to clear all the errors during reset or any of those
functions, you can use that. There is get field state. Get field state is something which you can get during you can get the field state at any given point. So for example, I can just provide like this, or I'll have it with this. And if I see the inspect element, you can see the field state of these particular field. Yeah, you can see it's invalid, is true, is dirty, is false, is touched, is true, because the value got changed. So the field state at this point of time for username is these three. That is, it is invalid, dirty, and touched. There is also set focus. Set focus, actually what it does is it actually sets a focus on a field, if at all, if you want, but I think this is very less used. So the value will be on focus with this. You can see that it is the value that was there in username got covered because I have put set focus of username. And the next point is very important one, that is trigger. In whenever a form gets submitted, the on submit method actually does the validations, but for some reasons, if you want to validate the form before even on submit, then we can make use of trigger. So trigger is a promise based function using which you can trigger the validation. So let me show you how I can do it. On this validate button, I'll just call this trigger, and then the response will be whether it is passed or failed. So I'll just print the response here. Okay. Now on the screen, when I directly call validate, you can see that response is false because it has triggered the validation here, but it is not validated. The screen is not validated, and hence you get this. But assume, let me fill in the complete details here. And then now that the complete form is filled, if I validate it, you can see that it is true. So this can be used whenever before submit. If you want to validate your screen, the trigger is the thing that you can use. The next thing is unregister. I wouldn't explain it too much, as the name suggests. If at all, if any field that you have registered needs to be unregistered during your work, then you can use unregistered. And the last one is watch. Watch is basically you can watch any field that is present, and then write some logic on that field's watch. For example, here, let me watch. Say I'll have a variable sent to this watch of username. So what happens is this value name will keep on changing whenever the username changes, and hence we can handle that event. Like, say for example, I can write a use effect here for this name, and then if I print this, so as of now it is being watched. Now if I type in something here, I, you can see here the name function is getting called here. So let me also print the name here. Yeah, you can see this. So with this I can handle the state change of any of my form variable. So these are some of these other properties of useForm which are also helpful in our form handling. When you have to send the data to APIs, it's best to have a schema contract between the teams, and there are libraries like Yup and Zod which helps us on this. React Hook Form works well with these libraries as well. I'll create another video dedicated to schema validation using React hook form and one of these schema libraries. And that wraps up our journey into this incredible world of React hook form. I hope you found this tutorial both informative and practical. Thanks for tuning into our React hook form tutorial. We have covered a lot and it's time to wrap up. We have learned what React hook form is and why it's awesome. It cleans up your code, handles your validations, and just makes everything efficient. So, as you go on your coding journey, consider using React hook form in your projects. It will save you time and headaches. If you found this video helpful, please give a thumbs up, share it with your fellow developers, and subscribe to our channel for more exciting content on web development. If you have any questions, please drop them in the comments below. Keep coding, keep creating, and more importantly, have fun on your coding adventures. Until next time, happy coding.